Hello Internet and welcome to ACD Camping, the home of woodland shenanigans on a shoestring budget. I'm ACD and as promised, due to the popularity of the Compass entry on the 10 Seas of Survival playlist, this video will be dedicated to discussing the Lensatic Compass, its history and how it differs from a base plate compass. This one in particular is available on either Amazon or Temu for between £8 and £10. There are a few massive differences you'll notice straight off the bat between a base plate compass and a Lensatic compass. This one in particular has a spirit level bubble, and directly beneath it, it has a stand thread. These two items here can change this compass into what's known as a theodolite. You'll probably see those on building sites where a surveyor is looking through what looks like a little miniature telescope, and they are used in measuring the horizontal and vertical angles of a particular site. Also, you'll notice a little viewing window and a little magnifying glass here. More on those later. You can also use this spirit level bubble as a way of making sure that your hand is level and steady when you're taking your bearings. Before we have a deep dive on the parts, let's have a look at the history, shall we? The Lensatic Compass was developed around 1938 by the Engineer Board of the US government by getting two companies, Gurley and Taylor Instruments, to design a replacement for the marching compass, which by the time was too big and costly to take onto the modern battlefield. Both companies made 6 samples each, and after testing by the Armed Forces, the Engineer Board recommended that the Lensatic Compass be introduced. The first model was given the name the M1930. These first models had a major design flaw in that during inclement weather, air pockets formed in the compass which affected the free movement of the needle, affecting accuracy. This problem was solved by another company, the Superior Magneto Corporation, in July 1944 by implementing induction dampening. They made a compass body out of copper. It created an eddy current, essentially an opposing force created by a small conductor. Further testing during World War II and into the start of the 1950s led to the development of the M1950, a design that is still used today. Now, this compass is very different in design to those used in World War II, but the parts are essentially the same. Let's have a look at a few more differences between a Lensatic and a base plate compass. First of all, you'll notice that the Lensatic compass has a thumb ring. It's usually got a lanyard attached so you can attach it to a button and keep it in a shirt pocket. But how to use the thumb ring is, once you have your viewing window open, you feed your thumb through this ring, kind of pinch your index finger around it so it creates a platform from which you can then make a more stable and accurate bearing reading. The sight groove looks like the end of a gun barrel. It's a little raised notch used to determine the azimuth. That's the horizontal angle or direction of a compass bearing, when it's used in conjunction with the sight wire in the lid. I'll go into greater detail in a future video about our friendly azimuth. It deserves its own video. The original M938 has a flip-up sight groove that is higher than the one on this particular compass. This little window on the end here is so you can see the degrees. It works as the same as the numbers on the dial, but the last thing you need to do when you're taking a bearing is constantly change your position of view from through the little groove there to directly over the dial. So rather than constantly moving your head and therefore running the risk of moving your hand, you simply move your line of sight into that little window there. The numbers run counter directional to the ones on the dial, but they do correspond. You look through there, it'll say 260, you look here and it'll also say 260. This graph here is used in conjunction with an optional extra of a clinometer. That's a tool used to measure angles of elevation in a right angled triangle. It's used to measure things such as trees, flagpoles, things that you necessarily can't or unable to climb. This was just a brief introduction to the Lensatic Compass. I've tried to break down its history and its component parts as easy as I can. The manual that this particular compass came with, its language was quite stilted and maybe off-putting to a new user who wants to have a try at using this type of compass. The same goes with the videos elsewhere on YouTube that have broken down the use of it. It expects the user to know the terms already, and that can sometimes be also off-putting. If you have one and you would like an easy step-by-step guide on how to use it, a breakdown of the terminology you've read in the manual, please leave a comment below and I'll make a video on it in the very near future.